السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خاتم النبيين والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن اهتدى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. Welcome to the session of the every Thursday night Surah Al-Kahf. Inshallah, our goal is to learn the correct way of reciting Surah Al-Kahf and generally the whole Quran, but this class specifically Surah Al-Kahf, inshallah. And we're gonna fix the mistakes and the proper way of recitation of Surah Al-Kahf. And whoever wants to join the class and recite, inshallah, you're more than welcome to join, inshallah. Let's begin. I'll first recite the first couple of ayat, and then we're gonna continue on from wherever we left off, inshallah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا إنا جعلنا ما على الأرض زينة لها لنبلوهم أيهم أحسن عملا وإنا لجاعلون ما عليها صعيدا جرزا أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا فضربنا على آذانهم في الكهف سنين عددا ثم بعثناهم لنعلم أي الحزبين أحصى لما لبثوا أمدا نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى وربطنا على قلوبهم إذ قاموا فقالوا ربنا رب السماوات والأرض لن ندعو من دونه هل لقد قلنا إذا شططا. Let's begin, inshallah. Till verse number 12 today, and cover as much as we can. So the first verse, let's begin. إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. So in this ayah, there are a couple of major mistakes that you can make. Starting off again with the letter dhal. Instead of saying dhal, many people they say za, right? They interchange between the dha and the za. Because why? To them it sounds the same. They interchange between them. So what's the correct way of reciting? إذ أول, by sticking the tongue out and touching, your tip of the tongue should be touching the front edges, the front top two teeth, its edges. إذ أول فتية. That's the correct way of saying it, not is, because that's a different letter, zai, right? So how are you supposed to say it again? The tip of the tongue touches the front top two teeth, the thanaya, or the front bug, the bug teeth, the front top two ones, its edges. إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف. And then also the ta. Many people they end up mixing it with a sin fityatu, right? Or the ta is eaten up. The ta is a hams letter, basically hams meaning it has a little bit of air. So you have to make sure that you give it's right by giving little portion of air to the ta. Fityatu, fityatu. Don't stick the tongue out, right? Making it like a thatu, fityatu, right? So unless you have lisp, that's something else. But we are saying that just generally, you should be adding air. إِذْ أَوَى الْفِتْيَةُ إِلَى الْكَهْفِ. And then also, many people you will see, they mix up the ha with the ha. The ha comes from the middle of the throat versus the ha, which comes from, أقصى الحلق, meaning the lowest portion of the throat, which connects with the chest, right? So, there is difference of opinion if it's a chest letter or not, but, majority of the ulama, they consider it as the throat letter, the bottom throat letter, understand? So, ha, right? You can feel the pressure coming from, towards the chest, ha. So you have to make sure that you don't say ha, kahfi, or is kahfi. إِذْ أَوَى الْفِتْيَةُ إِلَى الْكَهْفِ. Also the ha, the other big problem is that many people make it an open air. So what is open air? The air which accumulates inside the mouth, which gathers up inside the mouth, like as if you're blowing your air, like right? When you blow the air out of your mouth, that air is different than the ha, because that's coming from the deep portion of the throat, versus just kahfi, right? You don't want that type of air. The type of air that you would want is from the throat, right? So kahfi فقالوا ربنا آتنا. Qaf again it's a heavy letter, so to make sure that you don't also choke that letter, but you have to keep it anywhere that it's back of the tongue, not mix it up with the throat, right? So فقالوا, don't say that فقالوا, make it really heavy, فقالوا, but at the same time making sure that you don't choke it or you don't bring it out of the throat. ربنا آتنا, we have a mud over here, so make sure that you do mud. ربنا آتنا, either 3 counts or 4 counts. My bad, 4 or 5 counts. ربنا آتنا, right? So making sure in the ربنا the ra is heavy. فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة. And then we have an ikhfa over here. So what people do is dunka rahma. So ikhfa meaning we hide the noon and we prepare for the next letter, which is the kaf. من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. Okay. So again, in the following word, rahmah, we have a ha over here, rahmah, right? If you stop here, so we have to make sure that we also, this is a long ayah, by the way. So we have to make sure that we stop in a correct place, otherwise it can change the meaning. And you go back and connect it with the proper, resume. Stop and resume. So you stop in a proper place and you resume from a suitable place. So make sure that you don't stop in rahmah, then continue on وهيئ لنا. So if you stop in rahmah, then go back to فَقَالُوا رَبَّنَا آتِنَا مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً. Okay? And then also one of the big mistakes that a lot of people do is they bounce on the hamza وَهَيِّئْ لَنَا هَيِّئْ لَنَا هَيِّئْ لَنَا, right? As soon as you say the hamza, right, with the sukoon, you stop the vocal cord and you move on to the next letter. Understand? So make sure that you don't bounce on it or you don't do qalqala meaning bouncing on the hamza, or what happens is that when you go too hard on the hamza, focusing on the sukoon, you kind of make it like an ayn too. وَهَيِّعْ لَنَا, right? So you will see all these, by the way, you will see all these mistakes all the time people make. So I'm really mentioning the major ones. So وَهَيِّئْ لَنَا, right? Making sure that you also emphasize on the shadda on the ya, right? The shadda on the ya is very important. Now وَهَيِّئْ لَنَا, right? وَهَيِّئْ لَنَا مِنْ أَمْرِنَا رَشَدًا. Let's move on to the next ayah. فَضَرَبْنَا عَلَىٰ آذَانِهِمْ فِي الْكَهْفِ سِنِينَ عَدَدًا. The dad on the فَضَرَبْنَا is really heavy, making sure that it comes from the side of the tongue, touching this either side of the two top molars. Again, the side of the tongue touching either of the sides of the two top molars, right? What are the molars? If some people don't know, it is the teeth that you bite and you chew with. So that all of that teeth is the molar. So aligning it up with the side molars. فَضَرَبْنَا Allah, making sure that you don't make it like a dal or like a heavy dal. فَضَرَبْنَا, right? فَضَرَبْنَا, right? فَضَرَبْنَا عَلَىٰ آذَانِهِمْ فِي الْكَهْفِ, right? This is again the same thing I will repeat again. I don't want to repeat too much. But making sure that you give due rights to the mud over here. عَلَىٰ آذَانِهِمْ, 4 or 5 counts. And then the dha, and then the ha, as I mentioned again, okay? And then towards the end of the ayah, the ayn, right? Making sure the ayn is clear, not adada or just eating it up and mixing it up with the hamza. Making sure the ayn is wadih, is really, really clear. Adada, again, the ha comes from the middle of the throat. Its brother or sister letter, whatever you're going to call it, is also coming out of the middle of the throat. Adada, okay? From the wasat al-halq. Next one, ثم بعثنا لنعلم أي الحزبين أحصى لما لبثوا أمدا. Over here, we have a couple of ayns over here, making sure that the ayn is clear. ثم بعثناهم لنعلم, okay? Again, another ayn, لنعلم, holding it, لنعلم أي الحزبين. We have to make sure that the ayn is not bounced, right? Understand? And we don't bounce too much on the ayn. And then ahsa, the ha is from middle of the throat again. And the sad, making sure that the sad is not like sin. Ahsa lima labithu amada. Okay? I think I'm getting a message here that there's a guest and she wants to recite. Yes, if she wants, she can recite. Assalamu alaikum.
Which ayah? Which ayah?
Would I be able to hear the guest?
Okay. Qasim,
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, let's give it a second. I think it's the tech is connecting me to the guest. Bismillah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahilladzi anzala ala abdihi al-kitaba wa lam yaj'al lahu 'iwaja qayyiman liyunzira ba'san شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين.
Give me a second. I can't hear you, but let me Give me a second, Tamia. I cannot hear you. me a second, we're having some difficulties. Bismillah. Bismillah. Okay, yeah, I'm not able to hear you. We're gonna fix it the next class, so unfortunately we have to move on. Sorry, ma'adiratan, please excuse me for today. Inshallah, next class, inshallah, I promise that I will continue and find a way to listen to, inshallah. It's just that the viewers online can hear you, but I can't. So I have to fix this from my side. So we have a couple of minutes left, so let me finish the ayah I have left over here, then we have to end the class in Safi Isha. So bismillah, let's move on. ثُمَّ بَعَثْنَاهُمْ لِنَعْلَمَ أَيُّ الْحِزْبَيْنِ أَحْصَى لِمَا لَبِثُوا أَمَدًا. So as I said, the sad, many people, they mix it up with the sin, right? أَحْصَى لِمَا لَبِثُوا. And by the way, for heavy letters, you don't use your lips, right? You use the back of the tongue to raise it up. Making sure that you take it up, all the way up, to make sure that it's really heavy. Don't use your lips as a way to make it heavy. أحصى or something like that. أحصى لما لبثوا. There is no lip work for heavy letters. Always remember that. أحصى لما لبثوا أمدا نحن نقص عليك. So over here it's really tricky. Then in the following ayah, the noon is light, but the qaf and sad are heavy. So what happens is that they end up making the noon heavy too. نقص na. So نقص. For every haraka, you have to reset your mouth and make sure that you say the sound of the letter first before the vowel, the haraka. So you say the sound of the letter first. نقص. So as soon as you say the dhamma, the vowel of that letter, which is the qaf, for example, over here we're reciting naqu, then you reset your mouth to sad, the sound of the letter. نقص. Okay? نقص. So not نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق. Again, we have ha and a qaf over here. Make sure the emphasis is there for the qaf with the shadda, right? So you have to hold it and let it go, like a qalqala, bounce it. إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى. And then again over here we have a ha, making sure, again I don't want to repeat it, making sure that the ha is clear, is from the bottom of the throat, and then the ta, again making sure that you recite it from behind the teeth. Fityatun, the top two teeth. آمنوا بربهم, not behind, not on the edges, behind, by the way, the ta. بربهم وزدناهم هدى. So there are a lot of ha's here. You have to make sure that these ha are really, really clear. Not making sure, not mixing it up with the ha. بِرَبِّهِمْ وَزِدْنَاهُمْ هُدًى. Huda. You see, repeated, consecutively. There are multiple has over here. Let's do one more ayah since we stopped over there. وَرَبَطْنَا عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ. The ta. So ta is, again, the ta and the ta and the dal, they have the same makhraj, right? They have the same articulation point. Where behind the thanaya, the pointy part of the gum, by making it touch with your tip of the tongue, right? The tarful lisan. So, but the difference with the ta and the ta is that ta is a air letter and the ta is not, right? But ta is heavy. At the same time, you make sure that you don't add air. وَرَبَطْنَا. That's what a lot of people, they do. وَرَبَطْنَا. So don't say وَرَبَطْنَا, وَرَبَطْنَا, وَرَبَطْنَا عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ. The qaf is heavy, by the way. Qaf. Qulu. So over here, you have to make sure that you are, you don't make it, you don't mix it up with the kaf. Qulubihim. Qulubihim idh qamu. There are a lot of qas over here. Look, 3 qaf in each word. Qulubihim idh qamu faqalu rabbuna. Okay, so the qaf, making sure the qaf and the ta over here is really, really clear. وَرَبَطْنَا عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ إِذْ قَامُوا فَقَالُوا. And then over here is kind of tricky because the meme is a nasal letter, right? So ghunna, meaning it comes from the nose. So when you say mu, then right, automatically your instinct makes you bring out the waw also, right? The waw madiyya, that's what it's called, the alif waw ya madiyya, which is the jawf, which is coming out of the jawf, right? The empty cavity of the mouth. making sure that it's not coming out of the nose, right? إِذْ قَامُوا versus إِذْ قَامُوا. See, إِذْ قَامُوا, I'm bringing out of my mouth, versus إِذْ قَامُوا. See, I'm bringing out from the nose. So make sure not to read from your nose, right? From the nasal. إِذْ قَامُوا فَقَالُوا رَبُّنَا رَبُّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ. Right? So if you stop here, make sure you pause correctly by holding the dad, right? It's called istitada, meaning that vibration. Dad itself is a separate subject. Inshallah, hopefully one day I can have a class on the dad itself. But for now, just know that dad, you don't bounce on it, you don't make like a dal. Wal ard. لن ندعو من دونه إلها لقد قلنا إذا شططا. So again over here the ha has a mad من دونه إلها لقد قلنا إذا شططا, right? So even I got mixed up because there are two ta's in a row. شططا, right? Make sure that each of these ta's are equal in its pronunciation and in its haraka. شططا. Okay? So inshallah we're going to end with this over here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to read the Quran correctly and apply on it. And whatever we've read, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the reward bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And Jum'ah Mubarakah inshallah. And I'm going to see you the next class. Barakallahu feekum. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.